There's a man in Arizona who hasn't checked his email in 47 days. Not because he's lazy, because he doesn't need to. Right now, while you're watching this video, his bank account is receiving money from people he's never met for a service he's not actively providing. He's not special. He's not rich. He just understood something that 99% of people will never figure out. And in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what that is. Most people have a fundamental misunderstanding about how money works. They think it comes in two flavors. Active income. You trade hours for dollars. You work, you get paid. It's direct. It's honest. And it's also exhausting because the moment you stop working, the money stops coming. Passive income. This is what everyone says they want. But here's the problem. Most people imagine it wrong. They think it looks like this. You do nothing. Money appears. That's a fantasy. That's not passive income. That's luck. Real passive income looks completely different. It's when you build a system that solves a specific problem for specific people, and that system keeps working even when you're sleeping, even when you're on vacation, even when you're doing something else entirely. The difference isn't the amount of money. The difference is who is doing the work. In active income, you're doing the work. In passive income, the system is doing the work. Let me introduce you to someone. Her name is Maria. She's 34. She lives in Portugal. And she's probably nothing like you expect. Maria isn't a tech genius. She doesn't have an MBA. She can't code. She's never written a viral tweet in her life. 3 years ago, Maria was doing what most people do, trading hours for money. She was teaching English online, making decent money, $2,000 a month. Stable, predictable, soul-crushing. One day, she realized something. Every single day, she explained the same grammar rules to different students. Same explanations, same questions, same answers. And she thought, what if I only had to explain this once? So she did. She spent 40 hours creating a course. Not a masterpiece, not revolutionary, just clear, simple, for absolute beginners who wanted to learn English conversation, not grammar theory. She uploaded it to a platform and forgot about it. 3 months later, she checked her email. She'd made $4,200 that month from a product she wasn't actively selling, from people she'd never talked to, from explaining something once. By month 6, that number was $8,500. By year 2, she'd hired someone to handle customer service, and she was still making $12,000 a month from a product she created 24 months earlier. Do you understand what that means? She solved a problem once. And then, instead of solving it 10,000 times, she let the system solve it. Here's what makes this work. A digital product doesn't run out. You can't run out of a course the way you run out of inventory. The 10,000th person who buys your course gets exactly the same thing as the first person. The quality doesn't degrade. The file doesn't get smaller. This is fundamentally different from every other business model humans have used for the last 500 years. But here's the part that separates people who make $1,000 and people who make $50,000. It's not the quality of the course. It's who they're teaching. Maria didn't create English for everyone. She created English for Spanish speakers who are tired of grammar apps and want to have real conversations in 90 days. That specificity changed everything. Because when someone sees something that was made specifically for them, they don't compare prices. They don't shop around. They buy it. Here's what the investment looks like. $0 to $3,000 to start. If you already know your topic, it's free. If you need help with design or video editing, add $1,000 to $3,000. Income potential, $2,000 to $15,000 per month in year 2, depending on your niche and how hard you work the first 6 months building an audience. Time required after launch, 3 to 5 hours per week. Responding to questions, refining the course, maybe creating bonuses. But here's what almost nobody talks about. The first 3 months are brutal. You're marketing. You're refining. You're doing everything yourself while watching the money trickle in. Most people quit here. The ones who don't, they keep going. Now let me show you something most people walk past every single day without seeing it. His name is James. He owns 3 apartments in Barcelona. But, and this is important, he doesn't own them. He rents them. From the landlord, he pays $900 per month. From tourists and travelers, he charges $70 per night. In a 25-day month, that's $1,750 in revenue. His cost? $900. His profit? $850 per apartment. 3 apartments. $2,550 profit per month. And James? He's in Mexico right now. He hasn't been to Barcelona in 4 months. The system? Airbnb takes the booking. Airbnb charges the guest. A cleaning service handles check-ins and turnover. A smart lock handles entry. Automated messages answer 99% of questions. James reviews numbers once a week. That's it. Now I know what you're thinking. This requires capital. I need first, last, and deposit. I need furniture. You do. $8,000 to $15,000 to start with 1 apartment. Income, $800 to $2,500 per month per unit, depending on location and season. Time, 2 to 4 hours per week when you have 1 unit. Less per unit when you scale to 3 or more because you're using the same system. The real power? It doesn't scale linearly. 1 apartment is complicated. You have to handle everything. 3 apartments? You use the same automations, same cleaning team, same software. The second apartment doesn't require twice the work. It requires maybe 20% more work, which means Unit 1 equals 10 hours per week setup plus 2 hours per week management. Unit 2 equals 10 hours per week setup plus 2.4 hours per week management, 20% more. Unit 3 equals 10 hours per week setup plus 2.8 hours per week management. But your revenue went from $1,000 to $3,000. This is what scalability actually looks like. Most people see 1 unit and think that's nice side income, but they miss the architecture underneath. James understood, don't build an income stream. Build a system you can multiply. Now I'm going to show you the business that millionaires don't talk about because it's boring, but that's exactly why it works. Sarah owns 7 laundromats. She's never mentioned this at a dinner party. She doesn't post about it. She doesn't have a personal brand around it. But her laundromats generate $18,000 per month. And she works less than 4 hours per week. How? The customer arrives. They put in their clothes. They pay with a card. They wait. They leave. Nobody serves them. Nobody explains anything. Nobody needs to be present. The machines charge. The machines dispense. The machines report to Sarah's phone in real time. If a machine breaks down, the system alerts her. She doesn't wake up one day and discover her equipment is destroyed. If a customer doesn't pay, the system adds a late fee. She doesn't chase anyone. The investment, $200,000 to $600,000 for 1 facility. That's serious money. This isn't for everyone, and we're not going to pretend it is. But the return, $5,000 to $30,000 per month, depending on size and location. Over 10 years, even a modest laundromat at $8,000 per month generates $960,000 in revenue. Minus operational costs, that's $400,000 to $500,000 in actual profit. The reason this works, indestructible demand. In a recession, in a pandemic, in prosperity, clothes get dirty. Someone always needs to wash them. And because of that, the customer stays. The average laundromat customer maintains their unit for 14 plus months. That's 14 months of automatic payments from a single person who signed once and keeps paying on their own. Most businesses are hunting for new customers every month. This business? The customers hunt for you. Stop for a second. You've now seen 3 completely different systems. 1 digital, 1 location-based arbitrage, 1 physical infrastructure, different investments, different industries, different skills required, but they all have one thing in common. And this is the thing that separates people who build wealth from people who build income. All 3 systems answer the same question. How do I remove myself from the equation? In Maria's course, she's not in the equation. The course is. In James's apartments, he's not in the equation. Automation is. In Sarah's laundromats, she's not in the equation. The machines are. This is not about luck. It is not about being special. It's about architecture. Most people think about income in terms of effort. How hard do I work? What do I get back? That's active income thinking. That's trading hours for dollars. But if you want to build something that works without you, you have to think in terms of systems. Not how much can I do, but what can I build that does it without me? Here's where most people fail. They build the system, they see it works, and then they stop. They think one apartment is enough. One course is enough. One laundromat is enough. But the system they built, it can be multiplied. The second apartment doesn't require twice the engineering. It uses the same system. The second course doesn't require twice the infrastructure. It uses the same platform. The second laundromat uses the same operational model. So the real question isn't, can I build one? The real question is, how do I build one system I can run 5 times? That's when passive income becomes wealth. That's when you go from $2,000 per month to $10,000 per month without adding 5 times the work. Sarah doesn't manage 7 laundromats. She manages one system 7 times. Maria doesn't teach 7 courses. She manages one platform with 7 products. James doesn't own 3 apartments. He runs one operation across 3 locations. This is the difference between income and assets. Now, I'm going to tell you the part nobody mentions. All 3 of these systems required work. Real work. Maria spent 40 hours building her course, but it was 40 hours up front, not 40 hours forever. James spent 60 hours setting up his first apartment, researching neighborhoods, negotiating with landlords, setting up automation, taking photos, writing descriptions, building the first reviews. But the second apartment? 20 hours, because the system was already built. Sarah spent 8 months finding the right laundromat location, negotiating the purchase, building out the facility, and setting up the operations. But by month 9, the system was running itself. Here's the pattern. You do a lot of work up front. You build the system, and then the system does the work. This is not sitting around doing nothing. This is working hard for a defined period, then reaping the benefits indefinitely. The mistake most people make. They see someone like Sarah making $18,000 per month and think, I want that. But they don't see the 8 months of brutal work before the system turned on. They don't see the equipment failures, the difficult customers, the regulatory changes, the market shifts. They see the end state, not the build. So here's the honest version. If you want passive income, you need to be willing to do active work up front. The payoff is, instead of 40 years of active work, you do 2 to 3 years of intense system building. Then the system works for you. Most people would take that trade, but most people won't actually do it because most people want the result without the process. And that's where you have an advantage because you're watching this. You're thinking about this. You're not just consuming motivation porn. You're actually considering the architecture. Here's what I want you to understand. You don't need to be special to build something that works without you. You don't need an MBA. You don't need to be charismatic. You don't need connections or a trust fund. Maria was a normal teacher. James was a normal guy who saw an opportunity. Sarah was just someone who understood a pattern. They understood that wealth comes from systems, not from hustle. And they were willing to build one. Now here's the decision point. You're standing right now at the beginning of a path that splits 2 directions. Path 1, you keep doing what you're doing. Trading hours for money. It's stable. It's predictable. And at 65, you stop working and hope you saved enough. Path 2, you identify one system you can build. You spend 6 months to 2 years building it. You refine it. You scale it. And then it works for you while you do something else. The time is the same either way. In path 1, you're spending 40 years working on someone else's system. In path 2, you're spending 2 years building your own, then 38 years reaping the benefits. I'm not here to convince you which path is better. That's your decision. But I am here to tell you, the second path is possible. It's not a fantasy. It's not luck. It's architecture. And it's available to you. So here's what I want you to do this week, not next month, not next year, this week. Identify one system that resonates with you. Not the easiest, not the flashiest, The one that you can actually see yourself building. It could be a digital product. It could be location arbitrage. It could be a physical business. Doesn't matter. Just pick one. Then spend 3 hours researching it. Real research, not YouTube research. Talk to people who've done it. Read case studies. Understand the process. Because once you see how the system works, once you understand the architecture, you'll realize something that changes everything. It's not magic. It's just intentional. And if you're willing to be intentional for 2 years, you can build something that works for 40. That's the trade. And nobody's offering you a better one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.